Hello, I'm Toycat, and Minecraft is fundamentally about resource gathering and allocation. And so in the same way you wouldn't spend twice as much of your real-world resources on a brand new TV than you had to, you shouldn't do that in Minecraft by using the wrong crafting table, enchanting your gear the expensive way, or just using your wooden pickaxe wrong. And so here are 32 ways that we've put together that are must-dos for any Minecraft player, and I'm going to start with the wooden pickaxe because I'm guilty of this myself. It always is just assumed that the only thing you need a wooden pickaxe for is to get enough stone for a stone pickaxe, but it's actually useful for two other things, a weapon and furnace fuel. So the weapon might be the weakest non-hand weapon in the game, but it has a big benefit, and that is because even though it only does 2 attack damage, with critical hits, this means a cow, which has 10 health points and therefore will take 10 fist hits, can be killed in just 3 if you get criticals on him like this. That is an absolutely incredible way to get the cow killed, but then even better, if you want to cook up your cow, you can do so using that same wooden pickaxe. And pro tip, cook your food before you eat it. In the real world, this is to avoid pathogens and because heating up the food allows it to pre-digest, effectively getting more calories from the same amount of food. However, in Minecraft, it's because the hunger meter, which you can see right there, will fill up more from cooked beef than not, and so why wouldn't you cook it? Also, if you are going to cook it, make sure you use fuel efficiently. You might think that coal is so great, and yeah, a single piece of coal cooks 8 items, but only use coal if you're actually going to cook all of those. So as a great example of this, a single piece of wood is slightly harder to mine than coal if you see both of them. However, a single piece of wood gets you 4 separate planks. So 4 separate planks right here, as you can see, if we don't split them into slabs, is going to allow me to cook 4 separate items 4 separate times, which is valuable if I'm going to cook a piece of food now and then a piece of food later. Even though coal is more efficient than planks, it can't be separated, and so you might actually benefit from using it for that. We've got some more fun things about what you can do with planks later, but for now, also, if you want to use no fuel, cook food on campfires. So if I kill a second cow, and I'm going to use criticals, but it's still going to be a lot longer than if I use the wooden pickaxe, right? But if I want to, I can use my raw beef, and I can cook it up on a campfire, and for just the price of a single coal and some wood, I can now infinitely cook food for free. No fuel required. This is an incredible new item, and it's one of many examples of Minecraft adding an item that's hugely efficient that you might just not think to use. Speaking of things you might not think to use, you might not think to actually wait to eat food. Just like in the real world, when you get hungry, you think you need to fill it with food immediately, but I actually find that it's incredible to wait until you get lower down. Unless you actively need to stop yourself from starving, only eat when you get to the point where you need to, because you don't benefit from overfilling your hunger bar. As you can see, this should heal 4 separate hunger shanks, but I only got 3, whereas if we go over here for a second, and as you can see, if we let the hunger go down, my controller disconnected, but if we let the hunger go down, you can see something interesting, which is that I'll get the full 4 this time. Wow, that's much, much more valuable. Also, don't eat twice in a row. Wait until you've gone down at least half a hunger shank, again, unless you're trying to avoid starvation or you're trying to heal up. And the reason for this is that you have a hidden separate hunger bar. It's called saturation, and that can't overfill either. So if you wait to use that by breaking and punching blocks, then your hunger will eventually go down, but much, much slower. And so if you want to get more value from your food, eat it slowly. Also, that's true for the real world, actually. Wow, look at all these useful tips. This next one probably isn't quite so useful in the real world, because Minecraft only has 36 inventory slots, 27 in the inventory and 9 in the hotbar, and if you want, you can increase this effectively by crafting a bundle. This is a bundle. It's made using string and leather. You can get string from cobwebs if you use a sword, and you can also find them in loot chests, or you can kill spiders, striders, or cats if you feel like being a monster. Where are you, cats? Look at this lovely source of string we've got that's running away from me. But if you just combine that with leather, you can make a bundle, and then you can use these bundles to store ridiculous amounts of items. Look at this right here. I can take this entire top row of this chest, and just by clicking it into the bundle, it will magically fit in there. And wow, isn't that nutty? The answer is yes. You can have so many more inventory spaces. But yeah, I would recommend using your bundle efficiently, and instead of having, say, look at this, I've got 11 feathers in there, you can actually free up more inventory space by saying, oh, I'll take the 2 leads, and I'll take the 2 wool, and the 2 chicken, and then the 2 flint. And again, Minecraft bundles mean nothing if you use the entire thing, which actually, just as an example here, you can do this if you want to, there's no point, but you can use a whole bundle and just fill it with a single block, but that doesn't save any extra slots. It just is a silly way to hide your stuff, whereas this bundle is saving me at least 11 slots, as you can see, which is next level. Speaking of next level, let's go into the mining hole, which is down below the ground. So obviously I always recommend turning coordinates notes on. That is how you can see my coordinates in the top left. We're going to reference that later, but for now we need to mention that you should wait till fortune. You can get more diamonds for every diamond mined, and when you're in a new world, obviously you don't have fortune when you start, but you only need 5 diamonds to get there. 3 of these diamonds are to make a diamond pickaxe, because you need an obsidian, you need a diamond pickaxe to get obsidian, and 2 of these are for the enchantment table. If you really want to, you could not mine any diamonds until you'd looted them from structures, but basically if you have a fortune-free pickaxe, you'll get up to 4 diamonds per diamond door, whereas with this iron pickaxe, a non-enchanted one, all I got was a simple 1 diamond per diamond. The value is off the charts, and if you don't want to go diamond mining, then this is a great way to avoid doing too much of that. Also, don't break your tools. If you don't want to use your iron tools anymore, because you've gotten diamond ones now, you can smelt them. Every tool that you smelt down will only give you a single nugget, a single little, a 1/9 of an ingot, if you will, so it's pretty bad value until you consider that this iron pickaxe was only going to last for 1/100th of what I bought it for, which, is 3 ingots, so effectively getting 1 nugget for that is better value. If your tools get very, very broken and you want to be efficient with them, or if you get iron axes from a vindicator, putting them in here is a much better use of your time. And by the way, look at this. Even when they're enchanted, if you really want to, you could do this. But first, I would recommend disenchanting them. But if you want to, throw your tools in the furnace here, and eventually 27 separate pickaxes will give you enough iron nuggets to make a full one, which is better value, even if it's a lot of work. Speaking of a lot of work, get complete stacks. Before leaving, make sure you have a complete version of each stack, or that's inventory space that is wasted. Sure, some items can fit in the bundle, like my diamonds right here, but when it comes to the things that you're actually going to mine ridiculous numbers of stacks for, make sure that you have complete stacks and not 226 gravel sitting apart. Minecraft should do this automatically, but on the Bedrock edition, it tends not to. So if you have a stack of 3 cobblestone and a stack of 57 cobblestone, double click or double press the A button or double tap, and you can combine those stacks together. It's worth trying this for everything in your inventory, just in case you're missing a spot. So inventory management tip right there. Another inventory management tip is that you can actually turn your planks into slabs, and you can use those slabs as fuel. This is insane, in my opinion, how much value you get, because think about the oak log. The oak log can be turned into a charcoal if you want to. So, you put an oak log up there, and then you put a plank down here, and technically speaking, this charcoal is exactly the same as coal in every single major way, with only the minorest of differences being the coal block. There's no charcoal block, but a charcoal can come from a piece of wood, and it will smelt into 8 pieces. So 8 pieces in exchange for this, right? But let's do a fun comparison here. 8 pieces in exchange for your thing versus if you take 3 wood, or let's just say a single wood to keep things simple. Actually, I guess 3 wood becomes 12 planks, which becomes 24 slabs. So effectively, 1 piece of wood would give you 8 slabs. How many furnace smelts do you think you get for 8 slabs? The equivalent of 1 wood. If you follow that logic along, I hope you did. So 8 slabs, when thrown into a furnace, will give you an amazing 12 smelts. This means that if you have wood, never turn it into charcoal, turn it into slabs instead. For some reason, this is a Bedrock only feature, but it's so incredibly efficient to smelt using slabs, and you should do it all the time, especially in the early game. If you have a ton of wood, don't make charcoal. Surprisingly, it's more efficient as slabs. Should it be? Different question, I think. Also, you can farm renewable fuels if you don't want to deal with having to use wood or coal or charcoal. Easy renewable fuels include lava. This is insane, 100 smelts per lava, but also blaze rods and bows from a skeleton farm, or kelp or saplings or bamboo. This is nutty how well this works. You can use any of these fuels and they're renewable, meaning you can smelt forever without having to use more. Speaking of not having to use more, use boats and horses because you won't consume hunger. If you'll notice, while running around right here, I will eventually consume hunger. This is the core part of the mechanic, but boats and horses, despite clearly requiring a lot of manual labor, don't use any. I guess they don't require any manual labor because I'm not the one moving these handles. Clearly my hands are doing nothing. It's a magical boat that is linked to your mind, and if there's magical boats in Minecraft, why wouldn't you use them? Speaking of magic, storage rooms. I like storage rooms a lot. You can use these to keep more stuff, access it easier, and obviously guarantee it's going to be used. Everyone thinks it's a smart idea to have one chest and dump everything in there until you lose where all the stuff is, so try this. And the actual tip here is, did you know you can put chests sideways and effectively double the storage you can access at once? So here are 4 chests. what should be only 4 times a regular chest, but they're all double chests, allowing me to store all of my lovely blocks. I would recommend separating up into sections, so blocks could be separate from mob loot, which could be separate to your tools that you're keeping around, which could be separate to your food. You can pick the categories, of course, but I would recommend having a storage room where you keep things categorized so that future you can use them as well. I guess that's more of a clean your room tip than anything else. So here's a much more useful tip that is guaranteed to save you resources: stone, paper, or dye. Did you know there are different crafting tables in Minecraft? These were added in the Village and Pillage update so that different villagers would have different workstations. However, they will save you a lot of resources. Here are 2 stacks of cobblestone, right? Actually, here are 2 stacks of cobblestone. They both have 64 blocks in them. So when we take the first stack and we make cobblestone stairs from a stone cutter, we get 64 stairs. As you'd expect. It's slightly smaller than a cobblestone block, so you might expect more than that, but if you try the exact same at a crafting table, you get exactly 40 stairs. Plus you get 4 left over, which is nuts. Why does that happen that way? Why do I lose out on 24 stairs? Because you used the wrong crafting table. What about paper? Paper is even more ridiculous. Here is a stack of 64 paper. If I want to craft a map, it's going to cost me 9, meaning this entire stack will give me just 7 separate maps. If I use them at a cartography table, 64 paper gives me 64 maps. I have to make them individually though, which is a pain. But also you can use these paper to actually expand your map, and it's far, far cheaper than a crafting table. Pro tip, if you are... Wait, actually, am I doing that slightly wrong? But yeah, the interesting thing here is if you want to expand your map, this is how you make sure you do it right. I'm not... Anyway, the important thing here is a map is going to be great. And also, if you need to rename a map, if you use an anvil, it will cost 1 experience point. But here, it's free! And we all know how much we love free things, which is... Oh, I guess I have to open the map first. That's what it is. I was like, there's something... There's a fun mechanic here a lot of people don't know, which is this is the first level map. It's 128 by 128 blocks. It's not actually that useful, so throw your opened free map in here with some paper, and it will zoom out and clear, which means we can see more now, and then we can do this again and again if we want to. This only costs 1 paper each time, and so for free paper, I've got a giant map, which would be much more expensive at a crafting table. Speaking of maps at a crafting table, you can also save dye in the same way. Have you ever made banners? You should if you haven't. They're a lot of fun. But here is me with some red sticks and some... so let's make ourselves a red banner, right? 2 red banners, in fact. And then let's show you the crafting cost of making a blue cross on that. Let's say I want a blue cross on my red banner, keeping things nice and suspiciously not direct to any real-world country here. A blue cross on a red banner is going to cost you 5 dye. Unless you go to the loom, in which case it's going to cost you 1 red banner, 1 cyan dye, and then you pick the cross over here. 1/5 the dye cost. This is wild in my opinion. They're the exact same red banner, but one of them costs 5 dye, one of them costs 1. Use the loom, use the cartography table, and use the stone cutters. They will save you resources, and who doesn't love that? Also, speaking of resources, you should really farm them. I think that this is something that used to be like a choice in Minecraft, but farming has become a core part of the gameplay loop. Every world needs a food farm, and you could even argue an XP farm is required, because the ways you can farm XP versus the ways you can get XP without it kind of just don't line up perfectly. So as you can see right here, we've got charcoal, iron, coal, we've got all the different things that you could farm. There's so many amazing different resources that you could just start farming right now, right here. And the ones that don't seem useful, like why would you farm paper? As we've just shown, you don't need that much of it. Why would you farm bamboo? The answer is to sell to villagers what you want to. So if you have an abundance of sticks, which you can get from wood, there's a villager who will buy those from you, which gives you emeralds and XP. If you've got a bunch of paper because you built a sky-height sugarcane farm and you were really convinced it was a great idea at the time, guess what? There's a man who will buy these from you. This is my librarian, and he'll buy my paper for emeralds. Getting emeralds seems like it is just a means to an end at first. I guess you can make blocks from them, except then you can use these to buy things later, and we'll talk more about that later, about the value you can get here, but there's a lot of abundant items that you'll see as worthless, but villagers do not. Make sure you take advantage. Why are they shaking so oddly here, by the way? You know, I put them in there and I thought they were doing pretty nice, but clearly the villagers are anxious that I'm not selling them enough of my garbage, and so I'd better do more of that. Here you go, buddy. You can have my white wool that I've collected far too much of. Indeed, it could come from a string farm if you wanted it to. Speaking of string farms, let's talk about your house. If you have gone to the point where you're farming and you're resourcing, you probably have a home, but you can save blocks while building basically anything else, because you can leave gaps where they won't be seen. Here's an example. If I place a block here, you'd never know there was a gap above it. To use another example here with you, let's break this block, and then this block, and then actually let's break this block here so we can make a crafting table. There we go, that's a crafting table. And then let's put it here, and let me show you something fun with slabs. So you might think that you have to use a full block for the ground, just like we have here, but you can use half as many blocks by putting slabs there instead. There is no difference whatsoever. But fun fact, this is true. Also, if you don't want to leave empty blocks in your build, above or below, a fun example that Adorable Hose mentioned is you could use blocks you don't like as filler. If you never want to see the granite block again, but you need to have solid spaces where mobs won't spawn, try using this. Also, you can use slabs to save even more blocks if you want to. Speaking of saving blocks, let's talk about a block that you might have, if you want to get more of them, you might want to enchant. And so a block that I often have is, when should you enchant? I want to actually give you a fun example of just how important it is to enchant at level 30, and I'm going to do so with this button. This is hooked up to a command block that gives me 1000 experience. That's the same as killing 100 blazes or endermen. And let me show you something fun. If I use this from level 5, 1000 XP will give me 21 levels. If I use this from level 26, 1000 XP gives me 9 levels, but if I use it at level 35, I'll get just 5. And then from 40, it goes down to 5. It stays at 5. And then it goes down to 3. And then we're at 4. And then you can see how the value of that 1000 experience converts to fewer and fewer levels. This is crucial to know, because it means that if you want to make the most of your XP, use it at level 30 as soon as possible. Also, you should look at multiple, and there is a set of enchantments that most people want, but you should look at all of your tools to see if you'll get the one you actually want. So I'm going to throw all my iron pickaxes in here, because I haven't smelted them, and I'm going to grab a bunch of armor, and I'm going to show you something fun. So if I put my leggings in here at level 30, and I don't want projectile protection, everyone wants regular protection, it's just better. That's a Minecraft problem, not a me problem. I'm not going to find it on my diamond chestplate or my but I will find it on my helmet, meaning I can enchant this. This is valuable because getting levels is expensive, and so rather than having to re-roll, this is what it's called when you put it in there for the cheapest enchantment, just so you can try again and get something else. But yeah, if you rather than re-rolling, I would recommend trying and enchanting something else. And then as you can see, now the chestplate, which was giving me projectile protection, is giving me fire protection, but I don't want that either. What about the boots? That's also fire protection. So you could just keep trying to enchant different things until you get different enchantments that match what you actually want. And then, again, if you have all of your tools enchanted at the same time, you can find the dream enchant first. Sharpness 4 is not the dream enchantment for an axe. But yeah, also, look at another interesting thing is choose level 1 enchant to reroll, not to level 3. So if you are going to get rid of an enchantment because you don't want fire protection, don't waste it on fire protection, pick unbreaking, and then remove the enchantment using a grindstone, as you can see right here, and then you can just try it again, and you might get that regular protection. We didn't get that regular protection, which means we could try it again, and the grindstone allows for enchantments to be made much more efficient until you get your dream, or until you get unbreaking leggings over and over again, which I guess is also capable of happening. Next up here, get Mending and Unbreaking. These allows your tool, Unbreaking allows your tools to last 4 times as long. Mending allows your tool to last forever if you get XP. And given how many sources of XP there are, and XP farms there are, you basically can have infinite tools if you do that. If you don't want to use Unbreaking, on a bow, you could choose Infinity, especially if you are based. It's widely known that this is what you have to be to choose Infinity over Unbreaking, because infinite arrows, who's turning that down? Speaking of turning things down, you should use the enchantment table before the anvil, and let me give you a really fun example as to why. So, if you have Netherite boots and you want them maxed out, these are every enchantments that you might want on them. Here's how much it will cost you if you use the books manually at the anvil. So 4 levels for your first enchantment, and then 7 levels for your second enchantment. It's then going to be 15 levels for your third, 10 for your fourth, weirdly, and 17 for your fifth. And wow, I don't have any levels anymore. And even if I did, I'm going to whack the button a few more times, I guess. So let's whack this button a few more times so we can get more levels. Now even with these extra levels I had to get, it cost me 27 levels, and then by the time I want to put mending on there, it's 33, which just means that fundamentally it's going to cost too much at some point. So okay, I'm gonna run back to the button, I'm gonna hit it even more times. So this, in real life, this is spending a lot of time at a farm, but if I do all of that work to enchant my boots, then I can finally put mending on them, right? This is the dream for so many, or actually I think I'll put protection on there first, and then when I go to put mending on to make them last forever, it's too expensive. You can't add all of your enchantments manually. You should start at the enchantment table, get a few decent ones there, and then add the rest via the anvil. The anvil is not a usual solution because it fundamentally doesn't work for certain armor pieces, so make sure you don't use it that way. Speaking of making sure you don't use it, let's talk about redstone. Two very quick tips. One is that you should use repeaters sparingly. Redstone can go 15 blocks without a repeater. Repeaters slow it down. It's just like Wi-Fi repeaters. You don't want to use too many of them or you're going to waste your signal. And so to avoid that, use them every 15 blocks, not every 3 or 4. They are expensive, more than redstone, and also they slow it down, so why would you? Also, save skeleton bows. You'll get a ton of them with a XP farm, but you can use even a damaged bow, which you'll get from a skeleton, for crafting dispensers. Dispensers are really handy, especially if you want to, by the way, also chests and hopper chains is another fun one. If you want to move things vertically, you might think you've just got to use hoppers, but here's an example. I'm going to put my lapis in there, and it's going to flow from the hopper to the chest, then to the hopper, then to the chest, and so on and so forth, all the way to the bottom here, where my lapis will appear. If I used hoppers for the entire transaction, this would have cost me 40 iron, but now it costs me just 15. A great deal if you ask me. Also, rather than using hoppers to move items, consider using water. Here is a fun little contraption to show that, using that dispenser from earlier. So this water is traveling on ice to make the items go even faster, and there's just one hopper at the end here. Oh, it's actually 2 hoppers at the end. My bad, I'm lying to you. Although it looks like it easily could be one. But with just 2 hoppers at the end here, I can now travel items much further, and it works just fine. This is a great alternative to hopper minecarts if you ever run into bugs with those, and it's something I'm definitely considering as a way to replace those. But if you're going to use regular hoppers, don't. Use water, it is more efficient. Speaking of more efficient, let's talk about the late game, because by the time you get here, there isn't much more efficiency needed. If you use planks instead of slabs, you can get away with it. I think this is why some people find it to be boring, in the same way that if you gave most people multi-million dollars when you win the lottery, some people find it to be really great, some people find it to be boring, some people ruin their entire lives, but a lot of people just go like, I guess I still need to find fulfillment. And so how do you find fulfillment in the late game if you like managing resources? Well, trading is a lot of fun. Finding the very best trades from farmers, in this case, golden carrots and glistening melons, finding the very best trades from, say, a mason, and finding the best trades from piglins can be really, really rewarding. You can get so many items in a renewable fashion if you trade for them. Even with the Wandering Trader, not that I want to include him, but getting all the best enchantments is a seriously fun goal for a lot of people. So have you considered doing that? Have you considered becoming a master trader? I think for a lot of people, it's one of the most fun things you can do, but also in the late game, something you need to be mindful of is you get the best form of transport and you think you're invincible, because just for the price of a firework, you can fly so fast. But here's a fun fact. Fireworks are expensive. They use paper and gunpowder. Not everyone has a creeper farm. And so if you are in that situation, and if you have a creeper farm, it statistically will break at some point. And so what we're going to do is we're going to recommend using your fireworks more efficiently. If you aim 45 degrees upwards, you'll actually travel more than if you gain straight up. I had to test this myself, but let me show you right here. Aiming at a little bit of an angle allows me to make it through this first hoop. Then, rather than doing what you've probably seen someone do, which is spam your fireworks, I'm going to show you how I can make it through all of these hoops by conserving my momentum. I think I messed it up, actually. Okay, there we go. By conserving your momentum, you can actually get through far more of this. This is worth doing if you have an elytra with mending that lasts forever anyway. If you don't, you can consider wasting your fireworks. But all of that distance was traveled using just a single regular firework rocket. That is nuts if you ask me. Similarly, you might enjoy that you can save even that one firework rocket if you just go through the effort of using a Riptide Elytra. So we put a lot of work into preparing for this when Minecraft looked like they were going to nerf Elytras, but it's still useful to know regardless, because here's something fun, or rather they were going to nerf firework rockets, I should say. If I launch my trident straight into the air, I'll get up to Y106. That's the position thing I mentioned. Very useful. But if I launch it into the air and then tap jump just after I throw it, I'll make it to Y115. I think I could probably do this just a little bit better than that, though. So I'm going to launch at a 45-degree angle, press it, and then there we go. Y127, almost perfect to get me to this island. And so that was tip number 31. What do you think tip number 32 is? As someone who values playing resourcefully, as someone who values knowing that everything in Minecraft is slightly better when you do things the right way, I'm going to remind you that if you want to have more resources than all of this, and you don't want to go through the work, just use creative mode. Fun fact, you can do it at any point in time, and look at all the resources you can get for this. Wow, I'm just drowning in resources because I made this world in creative mode. I think that this is a really useful thing, and if you're worried about having achievements turn off, did you know you can just duplicate instead? And wow, this is so much more fun than playing Minecraft regularly. More seriously, I think a lot of people do get to the point where they get disheartened to duplicate, but it's actually way more fun when you play with those limited resources. Except I'm still going to say that creative mode has value. Outside of my dumb joke about how you can use this, creative mode is a great way to test certain concepts, and indeed, if you want to show certain things off, building certain things in survival mode is a real pain if you have to test and break and unbreak a whole bunch. But in creative mode, building things like all of this have been a lot easier, and so if you want to just goof around, if you want to test something before building it in survival, you might find it's most resourceful to use creative. Not in your survival world, though. You'll regret doing that forever. Make a brand new world, test the concept, and if you like it enough, like I really like these big hoops running from the ground, then you can choose to build it in your thing. Also, doing this in reverse is so much more firework inefficient. Something to keep in mind. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this video, which I hope you have all enjoyed. For those of you curious, this world was made by Adorable Ho, so it's very fun to have him back making some worlds for the channel again. And if you'd like to thank him, please do so in the comments. I thought this was a very cool way to show off resourcefulness in Minecraft, and hopefully now that you've finished it, that describes what you are just a little bit better. For now, though, you can be more resourceful with your YouTube homepage time by subscribing to the channel, or perhaps by hitting that member button so you can see exclusive videos. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.